Welcome to a new episode of Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome former football standout and Super Bowl champion Larry Centers. He spent 13 years in the NFL and became known as one of the most dangerous pass-catching running backs in league history. Centers topped 100 receptions in 1995 and had 99 receptions in 1996. He owns the NFL record for most passes caught by a running back during a career. For his efforts, Centers was selected to the Pro Bowl in 1995, 1996, and 2001. He was also a member of the New England Patriots that won Super Bowl 38 in 2003. He retired from the sport prior to the 2004 season. We now welcome Mr. Centers to this live stream of Listen In with KNN. Here is your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to this special edition of Listen In with KNN. I usually know we come to you Tuesdays and Thursdays, but this week, as we count down to going to Las Vegas, which will be on the road soon, as we leave on Sunday to go to Las Vegas, we are counting down to Super Bowl 58. So very excited to welcome on today's special guest for his first time on the show. He is none other than former Cardinals fullback Larry Centers. We're talking about a guy who played the game at the top level. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Larry on to join me live on Listen In with KNN. Welcome, Larry. How are you?
Hey, Kelsey. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited to have you. It's good to meet you. I know this is our first time meeting. You're in Dallas, right, Larry?
Right. I'm over in the DFW area where it's a little rainy today and, it's not too cold. That's the good news.
I'm a little jealous being here in DC, but I can't wait to be in warmer weather once we go to Vegas. Larry, how are people feeling in Dallas with Dan Quinn coming over to my neck of the woods in Washington, DC, and leaving the Dallas Cowboys to become the head coach of the Washington Commanders, the division rival?
Well, I've developed an ability to ignore some of these Cowboys fans down here. So I don't really talk to them just a whole lot, but I think from the chatter that I have heard, I think they're realizing that it's going to be a big void to fill. I think, especially since the defensive personnel was kind of built around Dan Quinn's system. So they'll have to bring somebody in that's a little similar to what he was trying to do. Otherwise, they'll be forced to rearrange that whole personnel grouping over on the defensive side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Dallas defense got obviously, I think they've continued to build an identity. They're a defense you have to take seriously if you're on the other side of that football. And Washington, I think especially after losing Chase Young and Montez Sweat, still looking for that defensive identity. So I think it's going to be real interesting. I think folks in Washington are just trying to figure how it's going to work out, but I think they're a little happy taking something from the rivals and the Cowboys, Larry, if I say so myself.
Right.
So it should be interesting. I want to talk the big game, but I also understand in Dallas, one of the things you like doing, I know you're an avid billiards player. I want to learn how that love started for you.
Well, I started playing when I started playing football. There was a place down the street from our practice facility.
Yeah.
And I used to go down there after practice and spar with this guy who was a professional player. And so, it just kind of helps me. It reminds me of having attention to detail if you want to have success.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of wiggle room. It's either a hit or a miss. So, my love for billiards started a long time ago. I have a table at home, and I practiced probably about 5 times a week.
Very rare. So you're the one that you don't challenge, basically.
Right. Well, I go out and I wait for somebody to challenge me, and then I shake them down.
Then they get a reality check. I love it. Are you nice on the grandkids when it comes to billiards? Because I know you're a grandfather.
I am a grandfather. I only have one. Well, I have 2 grandchildren now.
Okay.
About 2 months ago.
Oh,
But
nice. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But they're not old enough yet. But I really enjoy spending time with them. That really brings me back down to earth and kind of slows life down for me.
Yeah.
And it's very satisfying.
Very exciting. Now, you talked about paying attention to detail. So talking about paying attention to detail, I want to talk Super Bowl. And we know we're heading to Super Bowl 58. And the team that a lot of people, Larry, talk about paying attention to detail is this Kansas City Chiefs team and kind of this dynasty that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have been able to build, right? I mean, success after success after success. We thought this year that maybe it wouldn't be the Chiefs' years. We had receivers dropping passes. We had a frustrated Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. And here we are, Larry, about to prepare to see Kansas City Chiefs back in the Super Bowl game. So, so we look back at the AFC Championship game, which was right here by me in Baltimore, and the Chiefs being the underdogs and being able to pull it off against the Baltimore Ravens. What do you like about Kansas City and what you saw in that game, what you saw from the season, and what you think will carry them forward to potentially being able to hoist yet another Lombardi trophy?
Yeah, I think that, Kelsey, the thing that stands out to me the most about the Kansas City Chiefs is that they persevered throughout the year. They were up and down, as everybody saw during the regular season.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of talk about, as you mentioned, the drop passes and, that there may be some discourse going on in the locker room. But through it all, and I think Chris Jones sat out early in the year. That created some problems for him early in terms of continuity in the locker room. But to see them now having put it together in the end, which is really what's most important, and to reach another Super Bowl, I mean, it's impressive for Andy Reid and his overall story.
Yeah, I mean, it just continues on. Do you think Andy Reid's going to hang it up anytime soon? Or do you think he's just being so successful, he's just going to keep racking them up?
I don't expect him to step down anytime soon. If he does, I think it'll be due to him just getting burned out. Having, he's over 70 years old now.
Yeah,
I think so. So, after a while, you want to go have some quality of life, but he's got it going right now. And, if it was me, it'd be hard to walk away.
Yeah, really when things are going good, and look, why leave? Leave? You keep adding to the legacy, even though we honestly all know that Andy Reid has a storied legacy. And you talk about being an older coach, and I want to talk Ravens, but I want to talk to a team that you played for and won a ring with, and they're talk of the town, and the New England Patriots, Larry, and the Bill Belichick era being officially done. I want to get your thoughts and comments on that. Because, there's some people who say, okay, once a coach gets to a certain age, they can no longer connect with players. It's just different. But, you just mentioned Andy Reid has had success, and we're not talking about that with Andy Reid. We talked about that with Pete Carroll. We saw what happened with Pete Carroll. And now we have seen what happened with Bill Belichick. And now that Dan Quinn is officially named in Washington, Larry, we got no more head coaching vacancies. So just curious your thoughts, on Bill Belichick and the Patriots parting ways.
I tell you what, Kelsey, I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for the Patriots organization. I was getting ready to hang it up toward the end of my career, and I got a call from them, and they told me right off the top that they believe that I can help win a Super Bowl there. And I bought in, and I was one of the older guys, obviously. and doing more, taking on more of a teaching role in a lot of situations. But I think that's where Bill has pretty much lost his way in terms of having success. He's been known for bringing in older guys, proven players, and
Right.
that sort of bridges the gap between the coaching and younger players. When you can get a veteran who's done it before at a high level to come in and help to be an interpreter for the coaches and the younger players.
Right.
But I think Bill will bounce back no matter what he chooses to do. He's shown that he's a winner, and again, he's one of those guys going back to the top that is a stickler for paying attention to the details, and that's always going to bode well for your chances for success.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think to win, like you said, you have to be a team that pays attention to every single thing, right? It has to be right on offense. It has to be right on defense. It has to be right on special teams. The coaching staff has to be in line with the players. But, I'm curious, as you saw Bill Belichick and the narrative kind of surrounding him and him doing the interview, and, maybe some people thought it would be the Atlanta Falcons that, he'd land the job with. Do you think teams really missed out on a guy who can pay attention to detail and can take a team, to the next level since everyone passed on him essentially?
Of course, I have no idea of what Bill really wants or, how much he wants to be involved. But
Right.
I think that no matter who decided to pick him up, I think it would be an asset to your organization just because he's been there and done that. And he can at least advise in the proper and improper ways of doing things. So, I think a lot of teams missed out. Namely the Cowboys here in town. They've shown to have some problems with the details toward the end of ball games in terms of clock management and things like that.
Yeah.
I think Bill would have been an excellent pick for adding to that coaching staff in some capacity.
Yeah, there was chatter about like how Bill and Jerry Jones, could potentially work together. But I think you have Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones, you have someone who obviously wants a championship. He's invested all that money into the Cowboys, beautiful new facility that they have out there in Dallas. But the winning ways and Cowboys fans, it because you're in Dallas. They're complaining every single year, but they're telling us every year they're going to the Super Bowl. And I haven't seen it, Larry, in my lifetime. I want to see it. But I think trying to get back to those glory days. So it would have been interesting. And, staying on New England, I'm curious your thoughts on the reception to Jared Mayo as the new head coach of that team and that franchise. You look at the National Football League, you go from Bill Belichick, older coach, to a younger coach, right? And Mayo. And then you also think about a guy who's not afraid to, I think, acknowledge who he is, knowing that he is a Black man stepping into that role. So, doing that in New England, just curious, your thoughts on, I know it's early on, but the thoughts on Jared Mayo and what he's done thus far in New England, if he's the right man for the job.
Oh, first of all, I think that the owner, Robert Kraft, has shown to be a really, kind of open-minded owner.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to make some moves that don't necessarily conform to what the rest of the league is doing. And I think that'll turn out to be a positive thing for Gerard Mayo. I also think that it'll be a smooth transition in terms of him coming from an assistant role, just being elevated, promoting from within. I think that'll help the team out. But it'll be interesting to see how things work out. Of course, I'm wishing them nothing. I wish them nothing but success over there.
I do. I'm wishing them well. I think it's been hard for Patriots fans. They've been holding on, Larry.
Yeah.
Wondering, what's next. But, I think the future's bright. I think a young coach and someone new, can help again get some belief back in that locker room. I think we know the Patriot way, but, I think it's been rough for fans, seeing kind of how things have played out. But, you never want, I think, is to see a young coach fail. And like you said, I think he has the full support of ownership, and props to the Patriots on doing something different. Change can be scary, right, for organizations.
Hey,
but you got to try something.
Yes, we got to weather the storm of change. Sometimes it's not going to work out immediately. So hopefully it'll give Mayo enough time to come in and kind of put his stamp on things and make some adjustments where he saw that Bill wasn't getting it done in the right way.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that they have success in the near future.
Yeah, and staying with success, let's go back to the Super Bowl team and the team that they beat, the Baltimore Ravens. You're talking about a team that was very successful throughout the regular season, earned that top spot in the AFC, earned the bye, was hosting a championship game in the city the first time since 1971. Things just seem to be looking right in terms of success. You got Lamar Jackson, who seems to be going on to win his next MVP award, but the success halted during that game, Larry. The Chiefs got off to a fast start. Baltimore playing from behind, never able to catch back up. And of course, now Baltimore is outside looking in. So as you look at that team in Baltimore, what do you think they can build on as Lamar hopes to bring Lombardi to Baltimore?
Kelsey, I can't tell you how much I was rooting for Lamar and the rest of the Ravens team.
Yeah.
I just wanted so much for them this year. They came together on defense. What started for me is how Lamar was treated in the offseason.
Mm,
They wanted to kind of hem and haw on his contract, didn't want to give him what he deserved.
yeah.
But they have no problem putting him out there, and
Yeah.
expecting greatness. But
Yeah.
and then no other teams wanted him. When they
Crazy.
wanted to
Everybody said,
trade.
nah, we're good.
Yeah. So I was really rooting for that team and specifically Lamar,
Yeah.
and I still am. Hopefully, I think they'll come back next year and have some success. I'm sure hoping so.
Yeah, because I mean, you see it now. The narrative, as soon as Lamar lost that game, they went back to saying, "Well, there you go.
Right.
He can't do
Can't
it."
win the big one. Can't
Right.
win the big one.
And I
Yeah.
hate that for Lamar because I feel like the goalposts are always moved for him, as a player. And I know he's different. He's dynamic. He's electric. He is a passer. He is athletic as well, but I think this would have been special for him were he able to get to Vegas. We already saw what this team did to the 49ers in the regular season. We saw what they did to Detroit in the regular season, right? Had they been facing
Yeah.
off against either one of those teams. But, I hate it for Lamar. We had just finished the discourse on quarterbacky for Lamar.
Yeah. Right.
Again, here we are with people just wondering, if he can truly get it done. Is he getting too old? And I'm like, the man is a baby still. Like, we still have so much, I think, more from Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
You can just see it that he wants it for this team. I think people thought this year was special, because of the way the offense was able to really develop around him. He had weapons, and
You're right.
think about Zay Flowers. I mean, he had the touchdown in the game. Should have had another one, right, Larry? I know you saw that at the goal line. Snead punching that ball out.
That was the turning point in the ball game, in my
I agree.
opinion. Had he completed the score, I think the complexion of the game would have been totally different, and hopefully the outcome would have been different. But
Yeah.
the world may never know, right?
We'll never know. But, you being on the sidelines, if Zay Flowers, we saw him visibly frustrated right after that play on the sidelines. And then we saw he cut his finger actually throwing down that helmet. You being a veteran on the sideline, you being in the locker room, what would you have said to him, if anything, after that tough moment for a rookie? I think we have to remember a rookie playing in a big game.
Well, sometimes you got to be really careful about, how you approach a guy when he's in a state like that. So,
Yeah.
more than anything else, you want to give subtle encouragement, go over, pat him on the back, give him a thumbs up, and, expect him to kind of be a pro and snap back. But, the frustration was there. I think Lamar even showed a little frustration. And quite frankly, they had a reason to be frustrated. That they didn't play anywhere close to what their standard has been all season.
Yeah.
And it had to be, super frustrating, it being the last game of the year. And, I could see where I might have lost my cool a little bit in that situation.
I was losing my cool, so I know they were losing their cool, Larry, here,
Yeah.
watching the game. And, someone who played fullback in the National Football League, and you look at a Baltimore team that was so good on the run, even after losing their top two receivers, their top two running backs this season, they went away from the run there. I got to ask you, in your opinion, what did you think about that for Baltimore? Really stopping a winning successful formula from the regular season.
Kelsey, the worst part about that, in my opinion, was that they weren't in a situation as far as the clock and the score to where they had to abandon the run.
Exactly.
So the run was at their disposal as much as it's been in any other game this year. And I think part of that was due. I think Lamar, he spearheads that whole running game as well. So if they start doing the read option, I think that forces the defense to play you in a different way, and it opens up things on the top end. I think they didn't do a very good job of mixing and matching those types of personnel groupings and things like that. And it ultimately cost them a season. But they'll be back next year. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I also think that, it's going to be more difficult next year because
Yeah.
players change, coaches
Yeah.
change, and
Yep.
and you never know, injuries come up, and
Yeah.
it's so difficult to get
Each
back to that
season's
situation.
different. Each season's different. We already saw what happened with Mike McDonald, right, in Baltimore. You talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
personnel changing, and like you said, every season's different. We know what's happening now. We're looking at players that are free agents, and it's just going to be a whole different locker room and a whole different culture that has to be established. I think John Harbaugh will have his hands full. But talking about a team to get back there, there's been a lot of comments, Larry, on Dan Campbell and his comments on the Detroit Lions, who, of course, a lot of people were rooting for, Eminem and everybody else, wanting that team after so many unsuccessful seasons to see what the Detroit Lions, did and to be so close. And then Campbell, essentially saying, it's going to be hard to get back to this point. Like you just said, it's a different football season. Each season, there's nothing guaranteed. Watching that Lions game, watching them blow a 17-point lead, Larry, when it seemed like everything was at their disposal. How did you feel watching that one? And what does Detroit have to look forward to after this game?
Well, they have to. What they do have to look forward to is that they have a foundation that's been built as of this past season to build on in terms of the way they want to operate and the way they want to do things. Now, as we mentioned, each year everything's going to change. So it's going to be, as Dan Campbell stated, it's going to be twice as hard to get back to that status. But I was heartbroken by that loss for them. Probably even more than the Ravens loss because they blew such a game that they should have won. All you have to do, it's your game to lose if you go into halftime a 17-point lead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really there's a lot of blame to go around, enough blame to go around in that locker room, though, in terms of the drop passes in key situations.
Yep.
I think Reynolds dropped two potential conversions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a fluke play that goes off the guy's helmet and
that
gets caught by the receiver. That's crazy. And then right after that, you get the fumble. So they had a perfect storm, and unfortunately, they weren't able to come back and win it. But even though they still had an opportunity, if Dan Campbell just plays the long game, and play
that one.
That's one that'll go down in history as being probably one of the more questionable calls in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan Campbell is facing, there's people that wanted him gone. I'm like, but hold up. I know where people are a little frustrated, but you still don't get amnesia and forget what he did the rest of the season. I understand people being mad in that moment. Yes.
Yes.
We'll never know.
Yeah. And you could make the argument that, hey, that's really, that mentality is really what got him there. But you would think that there would be some adjustability by the coaching staff there to say, hey, listen, it's the playoffs. Every point counts. Let's go ahead and secure the points and
be safe
and see what happens. Yeah, but Kelsey, I heard something else. Excuse me for interrupting you, but
no, of course.
I heard something else. I heard that, and I don't know how true it is, but that their field goal kicker had been, from a percentage standpoint, 45 yards and up. His percentages were drastically down from. So they didn't know if they were going to make the field goal or not.
Chance, right? A chance, essentially. I mean, it's a lot. Even every time you send your field goal kicker out, I forgot what coach said this, but they were like, they breathe just before every time he goes out there. There's no, guarantees. Even Baltimore, right? They have Justin Tucker, but Justin Tucker has missed kicks. There's kicks that have kind of been traumatic for him. So
look at the Buffalo kicker.
Perfect example. Exactly. So, there is no guarantee. So I know fans are mad. Again, we'll never know. But, I would like to think you have to trust your coach, in those decisions. And like you said, hopefully the Lions they have a foundation, as you said, and hopefully they're able to get back there, because I know folks are still rooting for them, because I think I think it's a better NFL product when the Lions are successful. No one deserves to be bad for a very, very long time. We want to be competitive.
Right. They were the feel good story this year.
They were. We were rooting for Detroit. It's funny, the two teams that everybody was rooting for. Maybe we all cursed them. I felt like it was Baltimore and Detroit, and we thought we might get a Baltimore-Detroit Super Bowl. Lamar story and then Detroit story. It seemed like it would have been the perfect storyline. And then of course there's all these folks who didn't want Taylor Swift at that football game, Larry, as well.
I don't understand what the big deal is about Taylor Swift being at the games. I mean, it's just a distraction as far as I'm concerned. But
Yeah.
I like to keep the focus on the game, but
Yeah, as it should be. These players work so
yeah,
hard, I think, to get to that moment. And I don't think we should ever take away from that. And, staying with the game, the team that the Lions faced off
yeah,
against, San Francisco 49ers. There's a lot of conversation. I was watching TV earlier, and there's this conversation about, Brock Purdy and what he was able to lead back in that second half. Are we looking at an elite quarterback continue to evolve before our eyes, Larry?
Well, what we are looking at is a person who doesn't screw it up, and I think that's by design. Shanahan has done a good job of compiling an offensive roster that where each eligible player can make a play at any time. So the defense is forced to cover the entire field. And
Right.
all Brock Purdy is essentially is he's just a point guard dealing the ball out to the different players. They
Right.
just get the hands and they get the hands in the ball they get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and they just let them do what they do. And Brock Purdy is he's not making any critical errors. And
Yeah.
this time of year, that's more important than making a big play.
He's safe. So, safe to say, as Cam Newton calls him, a game manager, he's been able to be
You're
for
right, 100%.
49ers. And I mean, he has weapons. I think, you looked at this team going into the season. I do think people thought that this was a team that could get to the Super Bowl. Now, the Lions almost halted that, came so close. But, at the end of the day, it's who makes the clutch plays, who steps up, and like you said, Brock Purdy, even though he had a mistake earlier in the game, was able to come back from that, a lot thanks to his team. So who wins the big game, Larry, in your eyes? Is you're going to be in Vegas, and you have an event out in Vegas where we're all kind of down to the game. Who do you think wins it? And give me a final score prediction.
It's definitely a tough call, and it's extremely hard to bet against Andy Reid after he's been given 2 weeks to prepare for this team.
Yeah.
I think he'll have an excellent game plan in place. I think it'll be a really good game. At least I'm hoping it will be a close scoring game and a few lead changes along the way. But I think Kansas City pulls it out.
Okay.
As much as it pains me to say that, I think Kansas City pulls it out, and we'll be singing the praises of Patrick Mahomes once again.
Yeah, if Patrick Mahomes wins this year, do you think this cements him as the greatest of all time, or do you think there's still work to be put in?
I definitely wouldn't put him in the category of the greatest, because he's really not had an extended amount of time.
Yeah,
and anything can happen. But
right.
but I don't think he's the greatest. I was fortunate enough to play with Tom Brady and watch Joe Montana throughout most of my career. So
Yeah.
I do believe that Patrick Mahomes is in the very best possible position in terms of the coaching staff that he has and the system that he's playing inside of.
Yeah.
And he should thank his lucky stars every night that he's got Travis Kelsey out there
It's
to
ridiculous.
bail him out. Well, they know where each other's going to do.
Their
based
chemistry.
on where they.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good situation, and it's almost impossible to guard. It's like trying to guard somebody on the basketball court. There's not a draw. You can draw it up on a chalkboard or the dry board in the meeting rooms all day, but when you get out on the field, who knows what's going to happen?
Right. And like you said, if they just continue to find it, you think about Travis Kelsey at 119 yards against a very good Baltimore defense. Like he kept seeing him find gaps in space, in the defense. And then even against, a young stud like Kyle Hamilton, it just seems like his physicality, was able, to win out. And Travis Kelsey is props in the world. I know he's a big personality and, people feel different ways, but he's been really good for, a long time.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with Kyle Hamilton with Baltimore, and to see Kelsey kind of toy around with him, I knew they were in trouble early in the game.
Because, like you said, he's been so good. And, before I want to talk about your career, but, one of the positions you played was fullback. And there's been a lot of conversation about the, evolution of fullback and, where people feel like fullbacks are in football. We talked about San Francisco, and, you look at somebody like Kyle Juszczyk, right? Looking at that position, or in Baltimore, Pat Ricard gets a lot of good praise, as a fullback. So as you've seen the game evolve, Larry, since you've left the game, do you feel like the fullbacks have still been getting proper recognition for, their role in football games?
Of course, I don't think they're getting fullbacks are getting their just due or proper recognition. I think that the evolution of the game is very interesting in terms of watching Juszczyk and how he's being utilized versus the Ricard over in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I think the traditional fullback, that 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy, has somewhat faded to the background because they want to minimize the collisions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always looked at the position as being a weapon. And from my perspective, while I played, I think I created some matchup nightmares for the other team's defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Do you put a linebacker on me or do you put a defensive back on me? But, it's interesting to see things moving forward. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they did away with the fullback altogether in years to come, and just make it interchangeable, because that's really where the game is going. Every player in the future will be required to be able to do everything across the board.
Right, multiple things. Yeah. Like
Yes.
a jack of all trades. I mean, we're talking about San Francisco, a guy that gets a lot of praise for just being an all-star, Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, and he catches the ball a lot, which I was able to do during my career.
Yeah.
And now that's a big thing, And I'm happy to see him having some success especially in light of the devaluation of the running back position over the past few years.
Yeah.
It's good to see those guys being included in the system.
And it's been interesting. Along with that running back conversation is the pay of running backs, Larry. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that? And why is it so complicated to pay these guys?
Well, I saw it coming from a while ago. I think in my mind, it started back with Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
They just started, and the whole league conversation, if you notice, everything revolves around the quarterback.
Right.
Like the quarterback against the quarterback. Well, they don't play defense.
Right.
They can't run the ball. They don't block for themselves. Unless you're Lamar Jackson, you never catch your own passes.
Which was still wild.
Yeah, it was wild. But they put so much emphasis on the quarterback, and that at the same time they devalue the running back position. But as we've seen, the running game becomes super duper important during these playoff games, especially late in the games. Now let's imagine if Detroit had a solid running game and they stuck to the plan.
Yeah.
That game would have been in the books. They wouldn't have had an opportunity because they could have bled the clock out.
Right. You can bled the clock. Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that that some of these backs get their just due. I like some of the young backs that are in the league now, like the guy Bijan Robinson from the Falcons, and this Jahmyr Gibbs is just an electric running back.
Oh,
and so
yes.
those,
even
I think those
that we saw. I know he had the fumble, but still.
Fun. Yeah. I put that in a rookie category, a rookie mistake. Secure the ball. Don't try to do too much. But it happens, and they still had an opportunity to win that game. It just didn't. It was probably the worst timing of as much as anything else.
So wrong. Like you said, you just hate it for him. But I think, as you alluded to, the league has a lot of young, bright stars, to look forward to. And I think that's what's so fun about the National Football League. Like, you never get tired. Like, when we got tired of watching Tom, now we get to watch Patrick. And who's not, and soon we'll be listening to Tom, Larry, right? He'll be in the booth.
Yeah.
I
heard. I heard that. It'll be interesting. He's I've had a chance to talk to him quite a bit when I was a teammate.
Yeah.
And he sees the game through a different lens than most quarterbacks that I played with, and he can anticipate as good or better than any quarterback I played with. He can anticipate what's about to happen. And as you must know, that anticipation is a key to being successful at the quarterback position.
Right.
Because you can narrow it down to put yourself in the best position to be successful. And so I look forward to seeing him in the booth. I think he'll be just as good and probably better than Romo is.
Ooh,
I think Romo's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Romo came out the gate, and all of a sudden we were like, wait, geez, he knows everything happening. And sure enough, he'd say it. We'd see it happening.
Hey, he could see it, but he just couldn't do it, though.
And these people were saying, they're like, wait a minute, well, how can you do this now? We wanted this on the football field.
Right.
So he's been fun to watch in that. As we talk about the NFL and how the game has changed, Larry, 1990, 2003, right? 14 seasons, right? That you gave to the game, essentially, that you love. Let's just start at the top. When did you know that football was just what you wanted to follow in life and to hopefully get to that level?
Well, with football, you always have to have a contingency plan
Yeah.
because it's not a high security job. Even if you're in a good situation, you can still get hurt, and that'll be it. So you have to have a contingency plan. But I put my heart into football pretty young. I had older brothers that played,
Okay.
and so once I went to college, and and I saw the talent level, it started to really hit me that, hey man, I could probably take this to the next level.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be on a couple of good teams in college, and ended up going to the national championship my senior year, which put me somewhat more on the radar
Yeah.
for the
Scouts.
professional scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And so really at that point, I uh, I really wanted an opportunity, Kelsey.
Yeah.
I wanted to go into camp, and I wanted to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges,
Yeah.
and let the chips fall where they may. If these guys are better than me, then that's just what it is. But
Yeah.
I believe in my abilities, and I was fortunate enough to stay healthy for pretty much the most of my career.
A
And
blessing. Yeah.
as you've heard before, cliche that availability is the best ability. And so I was always there, and I'd like to think I put my best foot forward, and took
Yeah.
my best attitude to work every day. And you know, 14 years later, I like to say I probably could have left a little earlier,
Hmm.
but chasing the championship,
Yeah.
want to stack a little bit more cheese. You know how that goes.
Not bad.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you talk about the championship. Let's just go there. Let's go to 2003, Super Bowl with the Patriots, winning over the Carolina Panthers. Again, we're talking about going to Super Bowl, but what was that like for you? I mean, you talk about it. Of course, players want money, but I think the ring is so special. And you alluded to what you were able to do at Stephen F. Austin State University, but now you're doing it on the top level, Larry, and you win it all. That has
No, I hope everybody out there can understand that it's a totally different situation when I'm in the very last year of my career.
hmm.
And
So you knew
most people
before the
don't.
Super Bowl that it was going to be the last year of your career.
I had a really good idea. It depends on if I came back, it would have to be specific in which capacity that I was going to be used or wanted to be used. But I pretty much had it. The writing was on the wall, and it was just an exciting time. Now I was super duper nervous because I knew that I wasn't more than likely I wasn't coming back to this position.
Hmm.
And I had 2 weeks to think about, man, what if we don't make it? What if we don't win this game? But
Right.
ultimately it worked out. And I can't tell you how much winning a Super Bowl, even after a 14-year career where I've had success, I've been an All-Pro, I have a record,
You've
NFL
got
records.
records.
Yeah, but the ring is the ultimate validation
Hmm.
for a professional career, as you see in basketball a lot of times now.
Yeah.
When you're done, when it's over, and you're looking back at it, if you didn't win the big one, it's just always kind of like a little asterisk beside your name.
Right.
And so I'm super thrilled that I was fortunate enough to go and play with a quality organization
Yeah.
and quality players, and come away with the big one.
That's amazing. Where's is the Super Bowl ring in the house now? Is it with the grandkids?
It's
Who has
it's in an undisclosed location,
it? Larry's staying safe. He's making sure none of y'all know
locked
who the
up.
ring is.
Yeah,
But it's so
yeah.
amazing, like you say, because so many players, you think about all the guys who go through the league each year, Larry, and the guys, I mean, look now, we're looking at the Reese's Senior Bowl, and we know the draft is coming up. And when you think about how many players want to get to that level, and like you said, you look at the game and talk to former players all the time, and not all of them do I get to say Super Bowl champion. And when you say
Hey,
that, it holds something, it means
abs-
something.
absolutely, and especially so going back to Super Bowls, and those Super Bowls will continue to happen.
Yeah.
When you go back to the Super Bowl and you actually have a ring, it opens doors pretty much
Mm,
everywhere you want to go. It's a badge of honor for sure.
I
And
love
so
that.
super
You
proud
look
of it.
back with your career with the Cardinals, do you ever wish that you could have won one with them? Since I know that was really
I
the inspiration of
that
your
was obviously that was my dream. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that organization, hoping that I could help be the reason why things get turned around out there. But as I look back on it, it really wasn't meant to be because every year we were transitional. As we just mentioned earlier in the conversation about things
Mhm.
are so different from year to year.
Right.
Well, when historically, traditionally, when you're a losing organization, that's times 10
Hmm.
because they start scrambling trying to find out who's the best coach and who's the best player to put here, and so
Right.
things are in such disarray that you never really gain any continuity.
Right.
And that's I just don't think it would have been possible based on how the organization was being run back then. And that's just as candid as I can be on that.
No, that's what we want. This is what this show is. It's real. You look
Yeah.
at the Cardinals organization now. Do you feel like they're in a better place to, like we're talking about, hopefully get a ring, get a Super Bowl? Is Kyler Murray the guy? Do they have what's needed in place to build to get to that level?
Well, I definitely like the latest personnel decisions that they've made in terms of the coaching staff. I think that this coaching staff gives them a good opportunity to win just
Hmm.
based on the fact that when they weren't doing well this season, you didn't see a dip in effort. They continued to play hard, but again, they were in such a transitional phase with Dobbs coming in,
Yeah.
spelling, Murray being out, having to
Right.
acclimate him back into the system, things like that. So it makes it everybody in the league is working to try to win. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible when you got so much stuff that you got to do on the inside that you got to compete against those guys. So you got to have your stuff together
Yeah.
when you in your house before you can go out and try to win ball games. And you know,
Yeah.
it's highly competitive at the highest level, man. It's
Yeah.
super competitive. You got to have your stuff together. You can't be switching pieces around and pointing fingers and things like that.
Right. You talk about competitive, and you're talking about, someone who entered the league in 1990, fifth round draft pick, right? You started at first returning kicks. Talk
Okay.
about that competition
Your
factor,
research your
Larry.
research team has done a good job.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you very much.
yeah, yeah. It was a transition for me because I came out of a small school, Stephen F. Austin in
Right.
Texas. And there were other guys that they brought in that they expected much more out of. And so I had to claw my way from the bottom to just put it bluntly.
Yeah.
So I started out, I was willing to run down on kickoffs, return kicks, and I was a running back originally. And, I was doing so much stuff in practice that the coaching staff was like, hey, we got to get this guy on the field.
Somehow, yeah.
And so I started getting placed in different spots and started making plays and, gained a reputation throughout the league as being a baller, being a player. And
Yeah.
so, it just kind of worked out. But I had to claw my way from the bottom, though.
Yeah.
And
It takes
I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and obviously it paid off pretty well, Larry. If you guys read through Larry, I mean, you see the records, and I know some have since been broken, but you went on to do so much. And I think about what you said, and I think about a lot of the conversation now, Larry, with some of these young players not wanting to, change positions or do outside of their role. And I'm just curious your thoughts on that. Like, I mean, even look at Lamar. We were just talking about Lamar Jackson, and you think about how many times people had his whole life have tried to, change him. And how do you become open? I guess I understand you want to play, but how do you become open? When for so long you've been doing something, you're good at it, but all of a sudden people want you to kind of change. Like, what advice would you give to young players who maybe are in that position where they want to play? Maybe it's not the position that they played in college or high school, but they want to get on that football field.
Well, just like I mentioned to you a minute ago, when I came out of college, I really just wanted an opportunity to get into camp and show what I can do.
Yeah.
My advice to the young people would be get on the field.
Right. No matter.
Figure out a way to get on the field. If you're not playing, if you're, get on the field. And if they don't put you on the field, let your game day be practice day to
Yeah.
show them what you can do. But once you get on the field, then then it's up to you at that point. And I like my chances when I'm betting on me.
I like
Yeah,
that. I like my chances
yeah,
when I'm betting on me. If anybody's going to bet on you, it needs to be yourself. Larry, when you look
yeah.
back at your football career outside of Super Bowl, outside of Super Bowl, what's made you most proud when you look back? What will you tell the grandkids when they get older, when they say, "Grandpa, you were a football player. You played on the top level." What's that going to be outside of the Super Bowl?
There's a couple of things, as I dig deeper and peel the layers back, and had a chance to examine my career in totality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of the fact that I caught 74.6% of balls that were thrown to me.
That's big.
And Jerry Rice, I think, caught 62. And so I was covered 100% of the time.
Wow.
And so I'm proud that I was consistent. If you look at my numbers went up every year with the exception of my final year.
Yeah.
And consistently went upward. And so they knew that they were still trying to stop me. They knew I was coming, and they still couldn't curb.
Couldn't find a way.
Yes. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I was able to stay healthy. I was able to kind of not lose myself in the whole career. I like to think I'm still the same guy that I started out playing, and I'm not tatted up and earrings, and so
you don't need all that stuff.
No. So I'm proud, super proud that just the body of work.
Right, that you did. It's been
and,
incredible. Let me ask you, do you feel like your body of work has been respected? Like when people look you up and see everything that you've done, do you feel like it's well respected from football fans, from professionals, from media?
That is an extremely good question, Kelsey, and I get that question a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to you would be, in the sports world, I don't think it's respected, but in football circles, the
Mm-hmm.
people that know the game and people
Right.
who watch my career, I think I'm very well respected in
Okay.
football circles. I ran into Marshall Falk one day and at a Jim Brown function, and he was like, "Hey man, I just want to tell you, man, I learned so much from watching you play."
Wow.
And for other players who you respect so much to come up,
Right.
Eddie George did the same thing. I ran into
Nice.
him at one of the Super Bowls. He said, "Hey, my coach used to put your film on and point out some things that you used to do to try
Wow.
to get us coached up." So those types of things, that's really my I don't know, my flowers, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be respected on a high level by people that I respect and people who did it the right way. I've been nominated for the Hall of Fame every year that I've been eligible. And of course, in the beginning, I was a little bummed out that I didn't advance in the process. But but all the guys that I played with and played against, and it could be blowing smoke, but they don't hesitate to tell me that I'm deserving of it, and so that
Yeah.
means a lot to me.
That's special, and I can only imagine, what it might feel like. But, you talked about it. I mean, what you've done. You're respected by the best. And I understand what it is to have that camaraderie in a locker room with the other guys and knowing that the other best in the game, respect you. And Larry, the reason why I wanted you on my show is because, I respect you so much, what you've done, and how it still holds weight, in the game of football, today,
Yeah,
especially, like I
yeah.
said, football fans. I appreciate you.
20 years later, it's like if Oprah came and gave you a pat on the back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I wouldn't be no good anymore, Larry.
Yeah.
I understand, what that means, and how it's shouted out. All right. I'm going to get to some of the questions. We have a lot of questions for you from fans. This one you kind of touched on already. How do you feel about the state of the running back position? We talked about the fullback. I'm so sorry you might have missed it earlier, but Larry talked about it. We talked about it. One, we think they deserve, obviously, to get paid. And we're a little bit scared about the future of it. But Larry, too, how you think.
I'll add to that is
Okay.
how ironic it is that it's one of the more high risk positions on the field.
Yeah.
Yet the pay scale doesn't reflect that. I actually think that the running backs deserve more because they risk more.
Yeah.
And so
your body, essentially, you're throwing, right? You see it when they're what they're running through. So that's amazing to, obviously hear that.
It's become a business model for the league to draft a young guy who's, full of fire and ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
Running for 2 or 3 years and never give him that second big contract.
Yeah.
And then turn around and put some new tires on, bring a new running back in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
So
lot.
that,
And you
yeah,
think about wear and tear on the body. I can only think about the nutrition and everything that running backs, it takes me back to the Saquon Barkley conversation, Larry. I don't know if you remember that we were having, and, pay and, all that stuff, and just how that really made us have a serious conversation, about that position. But to me, I mean, I love watching good running backs. When Keaton Mitchell got hurt for Baltimore, I don't know if you saw him a lot, Larry, but
yeah,
young stud. I mean, seeing him get hurt. You thought about what he was doing, but even how Baltimore was able to bounce back the running game after that, was with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. I mean, it was
yeah,
incredible watching what those
yeah,
guys have been
yeah.
able to.
They've had some terrible luck at the running back position. Oh, it's scary to think what would have been had they
They've
kept
been
some of their
healthy.
guys. Yes,
Yeah.
from Dobbins
J.K. Dobbins, right.
to Mitchell.
Yeah.
So
Just tough.
tough
Just tough.
tough situation, but that's why running backs should get paid, though.
That's why they should get paid. Me and Larry just proved the point.
Yeah.
All right. The other question, we're going to college football. You talked about where you played in college. NIL now, Larry, name, image, and likeness. Athletes getting paid, officially being able to get paid. Your thoughts on NIL and what you see it doing in college? Let's say college athletics as a whole. You don't have to limit it to college football.
Well, I think it's well overdue. All of the money that's being generated by these institutions. You look at the Notre Dames of the
Oh,
all
no.
in
Sorry. He's coming back.
they're,
There we go. We had lost you.
they're in the national championship every year.
Yeah.
Well, with that TV money comes a whole lot of revenue. There's a lot of money that's brought in to that organization. Where does that money go? That money falls in somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
Just like we're talking about with the running backs, the players go out and they risk life and limb with no compensation. So it's well overdue that they be compensated on some level.
Right.
And I'm thrilled to see that that it's the tables are turning and they're starting to get a little compensation.
Yeah. I think about somebody like Shador Sanders, with Colorado State and how much he's been able, to make. He
Right.
might be an anomaly in some senses in terms of how much he's making, but it's great to see that he's able to, again, like you said, benefit off what you're doing, what you've built, and the brand. And speaking of that, so let me just get your quick thoughts on what do you think about the job Deion did in Colorado State, that had so many of us watching.
Which refresh my memory.
Deion Sanders. I'm sorry, not Colorado State, Colorado, and what he was able to do. I mean, I haven't seen so many people talking about Colorado football, Larry, in a very long time. So Deion leaves Jackson State, heads to Colorado. Okay. We see what his son is able to do, and of course, I know it started better than it ended, but just what he's been able to do for football, college football culture, we'll say, especially now when you look at it. I mean, look what Alabama, Nick Saban. Gone, and that Ohio State has had. It's been interesting.
Yeah, when you first asked the question, I thought it was about the dirty hit from the Colorado player against his son.
That was a big topic.
But yes, but no, I love what Deion has been able to do, and I think he's been somewhat of a shot in your arm for college sports, college football. So I'm just tickled to death to see what he's been doing. I'm probably more impressed with how he's coaching these young men outside of the game of football in terms of character building and things like that. And, football is just for most players, it's a short lifespan.
Yeah.
And so once you're finished playing football, what type of character traits, what type of transferable skills can you put into your life to make your life a more quality situation? And I think that Deion is doing an awesome job in that department.
Yeah. And he talks to that, what it is to be a football coach. It's not just coaching the guys on the football field, just mentoring these young men, like helping them grow into men. That period in college, you just finish high school, you're officially an adult, but still there's so much happening. And I'm glad that Deion doesn't shy away from that, really realizing the role of a coach, to the young men on that team. I think one of the videos I love, is when he had the young woman, Larry, come in, and essentially said, y'all are going to respect them with the utmost respect, like you do everyone else. I just thought that was such a powerful moment, from Deion to those young players.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And then you also have to factor in that, he's also grooming the leaders of the future. And so hopefully that'll have a residual payoff. As time goes on, those guys will demand that the young men that they mentor in the future will respect women and
Right.
so on, things like that.
Right.
So
Like you said, that it just
yeah,
reverberates. I love that.
yes.
One more question from a listener, Robert Jackson. How do you feel about the merger of the XFL and USFL? We know we got that news earlier that now we won't have to watch different leagues. Well, they've merged now. Curious your
Well,
thoughts.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's an awesome business move by the people in power over at those two leagues. Um, I also, on a side note, believe that the NFL is prime for the picking for another league to emerge based on
Hmm.
how a lot of stuff is going on. It's becoming kind of really drama filled.
Hmm.
But I like the fact that they merged these two USFL and XFL because you're going to be able to find your best players in one spot and not
Right.
have to look at all these different leagues. I think we ran the risk of there being somewhat football overload. If I got to go watch this in the spring, who's
Right.
on tonight? I think your loyalties can be spread out too far to
Yeah.
even pay attention. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great deal. I'm just hoping for success. I'm waiting, probably as anxiously as anything else. I'm waiting for the two or three great superstars to emerge out of these leagues, and where they can't be denied by the NFL. And we get
Yeah.
a chance to watch them play, come from the bottom, play great in the XFL USFL merger conference, and
Yeah.
then shoot to the league, and they're going to be a superstar right off the bat.
I think
And
that's the
so,
stories we look for, as fans. I
yeah,
mean, Brock Purdy, didn't come from that, but the reason why a lot of people like Brock Purdy, right? Because he was Mr. Irrelevant, and now we're about
right,
to see him in the biggest game. Even you talked about Brady. You think everybody knows his
yeah,
story. People like
yes.
those underdog stories.
America loves an underdog, but you know what I find to be super interesting is that
Yeah,
America loves a winner,
yeah.
but until you win too much, and then
Then they
they
hate you.
want to, then they want to see you, knocked off your perch. But comes with the territory.
It comes with
You know,
it, like you said, they
yeah,
love it, but you're right. And it can be good because at the same time, I think what makes the NFL so great is that you never know, right, who's getting to, that big game. Like I said, in Kansas City, a lot of folks are like, oh, we knew they were coming there. Y'all weren't on the bandwagon when the times were rough and the balls were dropped. Y'all,
right,
where you guys.
right,
But again,
right.
I love that they're there. But that's what made their story so much better this year because we saw them last year. We saw them come back in that game and win. But then this season, we just thought, oh, we wrote them off. But essentially, like you said, they put the work in, and now they're here. And I think the NFL just always has these great storylines, that we can just continue to follow.
Yeah.
The Baker. I mean, Baker Mayfield. Look what he was able to do
Hey,
and rewrite,
right.
his story. If you're a Baker Mayfield guy or not, I think you kind of had to, be able to root for that story because he's
100%.
Joe
100.
Flacco.
Joe Flacco is a great example. You
Yeah,
know.
as Robert said, yeah, Eric Swan. You talk about, like you said, somebody who didn't go, right? He just shared it. He didn't go to college, was able to
Yeah.
play for a minor league system team. And obviously we saw what he was able to do, in the league. It's hard not to root for those stories. And the NFL just
Yeah.
continues to somehow have these great stories, Eric, Larry, that we can follow. Larry, it's incredible talking with you. And I love, obviously your insight on the game now, your insight on the game back then, how it's changed. I could talk to you for hours, but I know you are a busy man with things to do. But, as we get ready to leave you, Larry, when you look forward, you talk about transferable skills, you talk about life after football, what has that been like for you? And, what are you kind of using your transferable skills to do now, whether with football or just in the community and in the world?
Well, the transition for me wasn't as easy, in the beginning, when I first when I first retired, it was tough. It was like I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs, like, what do I do with myself?
Hmm.
I played a lot of golf back then, and that was something that allowed me to clear my head.
Okay.
But as far as transferable skills, I always try to take the opportunity to go speak to young people
It's awesome.
and show up at different practices and things like that. And, just encourage along the way. You know, Playing pool, I do that a lot. I do the show in Vegas this year.
Yeah.
Locker room laughs. That's been a project over the last 6 or 7 years.
It's amazing.
That's yeah, that allows me to have the camaraderie with some of the former players. And I
Yeah.
think this year we got Thurman Thomas, LaDainian Thomason, Jake Plummer,
Nice.
and Ed Tutal Jones and myself will all be there. And so, that's been, things to keep me busy, keep me focused, and just trying to enjoy life, man. Trying to be the best person I can possibly be,
Love it.
and let the chips fall where they may.
Beautifully said. I'm curious, do you still go to a lot of football games in person, or you more so watch it from home now?
I watch a lot of games. I haven't been to a game probably in the last year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
I don't
So just
think I went to any high school games this year, but
okay.
and football is huge in Texas.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where football is king.
Yeah.
But that is amazing, Larry. Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. All right. Somebody wants to put a last question in, Larry, before we go, probably because of what you just said. Have you ever thought about coaching?
I thought about it. I've actually had the opportunity to do it back at my college alma mater. But
Okay.
at the time, coaching, I don't know how many people know about coaching, but coaching is quite a commitment.
Hmm.
And, at the time, I don't think that I was ready to make that commitment. But,
Okay.
maybe the window's closing for me because of how I'm getting older and the game is continuing to change from what it was when I played. But I'm not opposed to going out, and helping out here and there.
All
And
right.
I still love the game now.
Right.
You
You
know,
still love the game of football.
yeah. And
You might have
so,
just you might have put some people on just now. Did you just hear Larry Sanders talk about he's potentially interested in coaching? That's
hey,
incredible.
reach out to me and call my agent.
There we go. Call Larry's agent. Are you active on social, Larry? What's the best way for people to reach you?
I'm a little active. I have a Facebook profile, but I don't check it on a regular basis.
Okay.
Look on there, catch up with old friends and things like that. But I don't. I kind of take the page out of Charles Barkley's book. I don't want to invite a whole bunch of craziness into my life. So I don't do a whole lot of social media. You have a lot of people with so many different opinions with no experience of how you
Mm,
arrived at that spot. So
yeah. So you just
you
stay
know,
away from it. I don't blame you.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't have to do it for work. I probably would be off too. Larry Sanders, it was so great to not just meet you, but to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you continue to enjoy Dallas. I look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas, and I will have to get my billiards game up. So eventually I can compete with the likes of you.
And there you go. And coming soon, and I don't know if it won't be this year, but maybe next year. We're talking about doing a billiards tournament where
Ooh,
we where we invite different former players to compete
nice.
against one another.
Oh, nice. Is that going to be
And
at Super Bowl New Orleans, or this is going to be a separate event?
well, no, we're going to build it around what we've already done.
Oh,
You know,
awesome.
like
Okay, this is great.
yeah, yeah. So since we already have everybody in town, the plan is to try to just create a section, maybe a reception
Okay.
beforehand, and then right after the tournament is over, we transition into the comedy show. But we'll see how that works out. We'll have to play around with the format.
Okay,
But
that's fun. Comedy, billiards. You're just doing all the fun stuff now, Larry. Retirement life
hey,
is good.
hey, you gotta have fun, make a little money while you're doing it. That's
There
the
you
way to
go.
make it happen.
Not a bad day. I love it.
Yeah.
Larry Sanders, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to keeping in touch and again, seeing you soon. Have a great day.
All right, it's been a pleasure.
Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this special live stream edition of Listening with KNN. You just heard again from Super Bowl champion Larry Sanders. Such a joy to have him on the show. Truly enjoyed speaking with him, talking with him, hearing his great stories. And we want our fullbacks to continue to play the game of football. We want our running backs to get paid. We'll be back again next week, live on the road in Vegas. Be sure to follow the show. Subscribe to us on listeninwithknn.com. Of course, follow us on social media at listeninwithknn.com. And I want to thank my phenomenal team, not just for this show, but as we gear up for Las Vegas. So again, be sure to tune in. We'll be giving you guys live interviews all week long from Super Bowl week. Thanks so much as always. Have a wonderful weekend. And next time I see you, I will be signing in from Las Vegas. Make it a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
You can follow Kelsey on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at @TheRealKNelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio in the Washington, D.C. area, on Facebook, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream episode of Listen In with KNN.